Okay, we're gonna do a little quickie on diesel heaters. I actually ain't gonna do a quickie. I'm gonna yak for a while. So anyway, this is the first diesel heater I bought. It's in a case. I bought it like a year ago, somewhere around there, maybe a year and a half ago. And it works pretty good. You can see the exhaust underneath. That exhaust pipe gets really hot. So what I had to do is I opened the window and then I built a piece of plywood to fit in the window. And then I cut about an 8-inch square hole in the plywood. And I put a license plate, an old license plate on there. And I drilled a hole in the license plate. That's where the exhaust goes. That way I don't catch nothing on fire, because that exhaust pipe gets hotter than blazes. And then I got the intake for the combustion chamber, goes out off to the right of the exhaust. Okay. I'm using a little 40 watt AC to DC power supply. 40 amp. It's 12 volt DC out and it's 120 volt DC in, or AC in. And this is my second one, because the first one went up in flames. So be careful. I know this sitting underneath a piece of wood is probably not a good idea. I've got to move that. But this is a new one. My old one lasted about 6 months and then it just smoked. So I had to get a new one. I called the company that sold it to me on Amazon and they sent me a brand new one free. Anyway, one of the things I'm going to talk about is normally the controller, the remote control, sits right here. It was glued right to this front panel. It's right above the heating duct. You know, hot air coming out of here. It's useless because the heat rises and it makes the thermostat in there think that it's 95 degrees when it's only 40 in the house. So here's a look at where I mounted the controller. It just stuck here with tape for now. I'm going to actually extend the wires and mount it over on the wall somewhere. You can see the diesel tank. I'm almost full of diesel. See it sloshing around in there. I just mounted it on a 1x12 and a couple of 2x4s. Kind of a half-assed temporary mount. And I set it up on a bookshelf. Took the top shelf off the bookshelf. And I'm pumping the exhaust outside. I even have a vent for the diesel cap, which runs outside. So I'm not even venting fresh diesel inside. Everything goes outside except for hot air. Hot air's coming inside. And it's nice and hot. Now the remote, this little red remote, this is the best remote I've found out of all of them. Because if you touch the key, it says, hold on a second. Okay, now it connects to the main controller. It says 15 degrees Celsius in here. By up and down, I can change the temperature I set it to. Alright, I'm at 32, I'm at 33, 34, 35. This one runs full blast all the time. Okay? And the reason I do that is because it's in a garage. And the garage is only insulated on the one side against the house. The rest of the garage is ice cold concrete. Now I gotta throw some foam board up against this stuff or whatever to get some better insulation, but it's not enough. So this guy is an 8 kilowatt and he puts out a lot of heat, but it just goes right to warming up that concrete. Doesn't do me much good. There's kind of storage here, but M does her business in here too as well. Selling and reselling and whatever else. Anyway, that's diesel heater number 1. Okay, now let's go on outside. Actually, I'm going to turn this off because I'm not using it right now. Turn it off. And you can tell it's off because you can hear the diesel fuel pump stops pumping. It goes pump, 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 but it's really not loud. Guys say, oh, that's so terrible. It's really not loud. It's just, once you get used to it, you don't even hear it. So, are you going to be out here?
No, I just want to...
Okay, this is diesel heater number 2. All right, I hooked it up to a gas tank for a boat. Okay, so it's kind of laying down. It's I think it's a 3.5 gallon. It'll run 2-3 days, all 24 hours on that tank. I got nice long extension cord for the controller. I put it up on the wall, and it's running on one of those power supplies too, power converters. It goes from 120 AC to 12 volt DC, and this one is a 60 amp because I couldn't get a 40 amp. They sold them out. So whatever. The breaker on the house that it's plugged into is only 15 amps. So, but anyway, it works fine. I've got it plugged into an outlet, and then I got extension cord into the garage. This heater, this is the second one. The first one that I got, I put it in the box here and I put it together, and it squealed like a banshee. Either bearings were gone or something, because it was squealing really freaking loud. So this one here, when I got it, I just put it in a box. Fuel pumps over here. There's a fuel filter down on the bottom. And one of the guys on YouTube, I think it was Revere Overland or one of them, had put it in a Stanley box, and his looked great. So I thought I'd try it, and I screwed up the measurements. I was fasting at the time, so I was a little drifty. I screwed up the measurements, and I cracked the box and whatever. I mean, it works, but it's not portable like I'd like. So anyway, in here, this is a little bit smaller than the garage. This is my office, my shed. It's a little smaller than the garage, but it's fully insulated. I put insulation on all the walls and sheetrock, and then I put this foam core on the ceiling. And I'll tell you what, this little 8 kilowatt heater will toast you right out of here. It works great in here. I'm set on 12 or 10 right now, 10 degrees C. Let's see where I'm set at. I was at 12, okay? So when I come in here to do something, I'll just bump this thing up to 25 or 20. You can hear the pump come on. I put it up at 20. Pump fires up, throws a little diesel through it, and it throws out some heat. I'll tell you what, within less than 15 minutes, this shed is toasty. I'm up to 75 or 80 degrees when it's 10 degrees outside. So combination between the insulation, and I put carpet on the floor and everything else. Between the insulation and the heater, it stays nice and warm in here. My 65 on the wall, surround sound over there, my computer, printer, all this crap. At nighttime, normally what I'll do, because people say you shouldn't trust the diesel heaters, and maybe they're right. So at nighttime, I'll shut off the diesel heater, and I come over here and I fire up this electric heater over here. I put it on as low as it'll go, and I go to bed. And we'll let it run all night long. First thing I get up in the morning, I turn the diesel back on and turn off the electric. It works great in the shed, no complaints. But like I said, this is the second one. The first one that I got, the bearings were gone in it, or something, I don't know. Or somebody said something about magnets come loose. I haven't had that problem, but when I got it, maybe they dropped it. Maybe UPS dropped it or something. This is how I mounted it. I just put it on a couple of shelf brackets and a piece of wood, and I cut a hole underneath. I don't know if you can see that. Cut a hole underneath, and the exhaust goes out the side of the shed, and the intake goes out the side as well. So there are no fumes in the shed. It's really clean, really nice. I used to run a propane heater in here for a while, and that sucked because I'd end up with a headache after about 3-4 hours. Anyway, it's kind of a mess because I've been putting together a new heater. And I'll show you that right now. I have a new heater over here that I bought for camping. This would be my third. Okay, this is the second time that I bought this one, because first time I bought it, UPS says it's been delivered. So I come out here and I looked, and there's an empty box on the front step. So, and I've been in and out all day. So they must have just put an empty box out here with my label. No heater in it. So, piece of crap. So I called them and said, hey, they said, how you like your heater? I said, well, I never got it. I got an empty box. So they fired me one out. Within like 3 days, I had a new one. So this is the new one. And I'm trying it with my little power supply here. This is the power supply that I'm going to take camping. But so far, I'm not having much luck with it. Okay, it's on. And it says the cigarette lighter is on. And I'm plugged into the cigarette lighter. And yes, I have power. These things are really hard to see it. Okay. In the sunshine, they suck to see. Okay, turn it on. And I get a little bit of fan movement from the output, just to clear out any stuff in there. The timer starts. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the timer started. And I'm waiting for the pump to come on. In a minute, you should start hearing the diesel pump. I haven't primed this yet. I should probably prime it. That might make things a little easier. But we'll see what happens. Sometimes the pump's pretty good, and it'll pull a prime in by itself. You can see the little arrow, little green arrow of air coming into the combustion chamber down on the bottom. Pretty soon you'll see a little red arrow of the exhaust going out the... It might even be there already. It's just so hard to see. So you should have 2 arrows. And I should get a glow plug. Up in the upper left corner, I should see a glow plug. And I'm not seeing a glow plug. Kind of makes me wonder what's going on. It might be on. But like I said, it's so hard to see. Oh, there's the pump. You hear it start pumping diesel. I might have to do it a couple of times before it actually gets diesel into the system. I can't hardly see this display out here. That's pretty I guess, and the glow plug is on. I'm seeing a little bit of a red glow right here. Once I get this guy primed and working, I'm gonna hook up my remote control. I gotta put a battery in it. The remote is a pretty good remote, but they ship them with no battery, and it's a weird A25, I think, battery. I'll have to take a look. But it's an off-the-wall battery that you gotta order off of Amazon, because I couldn't find it at Walmart or any of the local places. So you gotta put a weird battery in it, and then you have to mate the remote to the main controller. There's a Wi-Fi between them. So it's a bunch of buttons you press on the main controller, and then you hit a button on the remote, and they chat back and forth for a second, and then everything works. So it takes a little bit. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 tries, but it's not bad. First time, not knowing how to do it, it took me forever. It was crap. But anyway, so we're trying to run off of this little power supply. Let me see if I got some details on it. I even forget the name of it, but it was like $200 with a coupon. Amazon was giving a free coupon, so it was like $200, but it's a 500 watt power supply. Plus it's got a little jack in here. I got solar panels. It looks like a little briefcase. I open up the solar panels and I plug it into there, and it recharges this thing. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but I've got 4 USB ports on the front. I've got 120 volt on the back if you want to run a flashlight or a drill or whatever. I wouldn't run anything that heats, but see, now the pump is trucking away. I'm not getting any heat yet because I don't think we got a combustion started yet. I'm thinking it's still looking for diesel. Like I said, I didn't prime it. I might have to prime it. Oh, she's starting to make some noise. Nope, and it shut down. No diesel. Okay, I gotta go to YouTube and I gotta find the switch settings to prime this the first time. Usually once you prime it, there's enough diesel in there that you don't have to bother with it, but sometimes the first time you gotta prime it. So I'm going to YouTube. I'll be back. Okay, now this thing I thought I turned it off, and I went inside to check YouTube to figure out how to prime the fuel, and it restarted by itself. What the heck? Unless my ghost did that. I kind of think I live in a haunted house here, believe it or not. All kinds of weird stuff. People walking up and down the stairs at night when we're all sleeping. Just weird stuff. Anyway, so it's running pretty good off of my little power supply so far. Once it starts, this frickin' controller is garbage. I mean, no, I take it back. This is a good controller. This is probably one of the better controllers, but there is not enough illumination to see anything. Turn it on and it's on P5. So all my lights are lit. As you can see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to red. So it's got a good combustion going. My battery symbol up in the corner is good. Let's see how you're doing here. Battery symbol in the corner says it's good. Yeah, and down here you see the no red glow plug lit up. So the glow plug is what pulls all the current. So when the glow plug is on, sucker is doing like 10 amps. Right now my little power supply doesn't seem to be phased. They say Jackeries? Jackeries is what everybody else is buying. But the Jackeries are like, they're like $1 a watt. So if you buy 500 watts, you got $500 bill, even on Amazon. This one here is 500 watts, but it was $250, but there was a coupon right there when I ordered it. It said, hey, click on this coupon, we'll give you 50 bucks off. So this was 200 bucks. And it's the same 500 watts, probably inside, probably the same damn batteries as a Jackery. Just a different case. They're lithium ion batteries or whatever. They're nuclear batteries. I don't know. So many different battery technologies, I can't keep track. But it's got two 110 outlets in the back. It'll run, I don't know, it'll run all kinds of stuff. You don't want to run things that draw a lot of heat or that create heat. I don't know if M's rice cooker would work, but you know. And it's got a little flashlight on the front. It doesn't weigh nothing. The thing's probably 5 pounds at the most, maybe less, maybe 3 pounds. Really, really lightweight. I put this heater, right now it's just sitting on a fire grill. You know, grill you put over your campfire so that you can, I saw one of the other guys on YouTube doing it. He just punched a hole in the bottom. That's the hardest thing about a diesel heater is they run the exhaust and the intake out the bottom. So you can't just set it flat on the ground. It's got to be raised up. You got to have clearance for the exhaust pipe, and that exhaust pipe gets blistering hot. I burnt myself like twice on the damn thing. It gets really, really hot. So right now we're cranking, and man, we got some hot air coming out. Holy jeez. I like it. I could get technical and get a freaking infrared, whatever, but it feels good to me. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this hose off. It's just a hose clamp there. I'm gonna take this hose off, and I've got a nice long hose that's about 5 foot long with a PVC. Oh, here, check that out. Yep. Anyway, with a nice long hose with a PVC, like 3 foot piece of PVC on the end that goes into the tent. The reason for the PVC is because I don't want to melt the tent. The heat coming out of this thing is huge, especially when it's on high. It gets nice and hot. So I run it into a piece of PVC. I got the flexible hose between here and the PVC is about 4 or 5 feet long. And then I got a 3-foot piece of PVC that actually goes into one of the windows on the tent. And she works pretty good. It'll take my Smittybilt Overlander XL Gen 2 tent, which is a huge tent, and it just at idle. Well, I'm not at idle right now. This thing is running full blast. But at idle, let me see if I can turn it down for you. There's 2 ways to adjust the temperature. You hear it slowing down? There's P's, which I forget what that stands for. But if I do a combo of switches, I can get it into degrees Celsius. And max is 35 degrees Celsius. Minimum, I don't know, I've been down to 10. I usually, in my shed over here, I usually leave that one at 10 all day long just to keep it warm. So my TV and my computer, I know they got batteries on the circuit boards inside, so they can save their memory and stuff. I don't want them to freeze. It goes down to 10 every night. So lately, it was down to -4 last night. So I went to bed at midnight, and the shed was probably about 80 degrees. And it sits out here, and it's snow all around it, but it's insulated nice. And that heater just, oh, it's really sweet. I was running on about 20. I run that heater on about 20 when I'm sitting in there. When I first get in, I'll knock it up to about 20, 21. And like I said, within 10, 15 minutes, it's up at 80 degrees in there, 75, 80 degrees. So they're sweet. They're cantankerous pain in the butt to get them started the first time, get them working. Especially if you've never messed with these diesel heaters, they don't make sense. The Chinese people think a little different than we do. Not saying it's a bad thing, but they have a different train of thought is what it appears, because some of the stuff makes no sense to me. Their instruction book is pretty much useless. If you go on YouTube, there's hundreds and hundreds of Chinese diesel heater videos, guys putting them in Pelican cases and guys doing this and doing that and heating their workshops and everything else. It's cool, but that's the way to find out how to make it work and how to get it going the first time. It comes, the exhaust pipe is in a box with a little muffler just laying there in the bottom of the box. The intake, this is the air intake here. It's in a box just laying loose. You got to slide them up onto these tubes on the bottom and put them on with a hose clamp and crimp them down nice and tight. This exhaust pipe I actually wrapped a little bit because just to see what it's the exhaust wrap for a race car. And I figured, well, I'll just see how it does on there. But it's still, I mean, I could probably grab the wrapping and hold it, but if you grab that bare pipe, you're going to be blistered. It's hot. On this one here, this is my new Vevor, V-E-V-O-R. It's the guys I ordered this thing from. And like I said, I ordered it, and it took them like 3 weeks, and they delivered me an empty box. UPS delivered me an empty box here. Well, it wasn't empty. There was some kind of a vise in it, but it's not a, it's a really fine, adjust the left and right and up and down and whatever. It's not a vise that I would use. It's not a good vise. Anyway, I told Amazon, say, hey, you guys sent me an empty box. And they said, okay, well, great, we'll get one out to you, and it'd be there on Thursday. Sure as hell, it was here on Thursday. So I don't know what's going on, but I don't care. I say, you want me to send the vise back? They said, oh no, it's too heavy. Keep it or give it away or whatever. They said, don't send it back. We don't want to pay the shipping. So I have a vise that I got to get rid of. I'll take it over to the machine shop, see if they want it, and maybe give it to them. But so this is a test of the new Vevor heater, and more so than that, it's a test of my little power supply. The guys on YouTube say the Jackeries and these other power supplies, they'll run all night long and you'll be down like 70% on the battery. And you just plug in your solar panels. Like I said, it's a little tiny little briefcase, and it opens out to 4 panels, and you just plug in the front. In a couple hours, I imagine you're back up to full. 60 watts. I haven't tried the solar panels yet. I'm going to try them pretty soon. But heater seems to be working pretty good. It's on idle. It's still nice and hot. It just, the fan came down. But it's quiet reasonably. This one is a little noisier as far as the fuel pump. You can hear it. Tick, 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 because it's a metal frame. But I gotta say, the Vivor with this short square case that they put it in, that's fuel, everything is all in one box. With it that way, that case is a lot sturdier than the red case that I have in my garage. The red case is a real, plus they put 1,000,000 screws in it to hold it together. So this is a lot sturdier, and it's got a handle. You can just pick it up by the handle and carry it around if you want. But you gotta unscrew the exhaust pipe. So whenever you set it up or take it down, you gotta screw the exhaust pipe back on it. If you're taking it, I'm gonna be taking it for my tent. You see my tent up on top of the trailer with, with about 8 inches of snow sitting on top of the tent. But there's a tarp in between, and then there's a tent cover. We're headed to Florida probably for Sun and Fun here in a couple of weeks. So we'll get a chance to try out the heater if it's cool. When we get down to Florida, I guess it's in the 80s, so I probably won't even need it. But I'm gonna bring it just in case. Anyway, I'm gonna let it run for a while, and we'll see how the power supply holds up, and we'll see how the heater holds up, and I'll be in touch. See ya. Okay, we got this puppy running, and it's cranking. It's running hot. I'm at 35 degrees C. Well, if I push the seat, 35 degrees C, and I mated my remote control with the main control, and I'm running on my battery. It's been on an hour or two, and my battery has not dropped at all. I'm still like reading 100%, 5 bars. So this guy's plugging along pretty good. You can hear it tick, 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 tick. But it's going to be down underneath the tent, and like I said, the hose is going up into the tent. One of the things I've heard is that if you kink the hose coming out, if you make too sharp a bend or too sharp a bend in any of the hoses, it'll overheat and turn itself off. So you want to try to keep the hoses, you know, nice round bends, whatever. This is a little short output hose here, but if you pull on it, it stretches out to like 5 feet long or 6 feet long, I think. I don't use it. One of the things I will caution you against, if you use this thing in your shed or your house or your workshop, do not wrap the exhaust with heat tape. You know, the stuff that you put on your headers for your race car. If it's inside, that stuff gets hot and it stinks, and I'm kind of worried that's toxic. So I'm sure there's probably different kinds of heat wrap for your headers, but in your car, if you're wrapping it around your headers, that's outside, you don't care anyway. But if this heater's inside and your pipe is just going through a hole in the wall, but the wrap is on the inside of the wall, which I had in the other one, bad idea. It stinks. You won't like it. So outside, I don't care. Doesn't bother me. Like I said, right now with this one, the only thing going into the tent is the hose for my fresh air. Fresh air comes in the vent in the back here, and it comes right out here, and there's no combustion, no nothing. It's clean, fresh air. This Vivor came with a plus and minus terminal on the back. You just screw down the plus and minus, and I bought a $10 adapter to my power supply for a cigarette lighter. I'm gonna let it run for a while, see how long it runs, and see what it does to the battery and stuff. The worst thing for running off a little power supply is turning it on and off, because when you turn it on, it runs the glow plug, drawing huge current. And then when you turn it off again, it runs the glow plug. Once it's on, and it's been on for like, I don't know, 30 seconds or a minute, it seems like maybe a minute, it turns off the glow plug, and then it uses hardly no electricity at all. But turning it on and off, that's what sucks your batteries down. So think twice. Okay, I made me a list here of the different settings. First off, to link your remote, it's up arrow and hold at the same time till you get an HF8. You're going to want an A27 battery in the remote that I have. You won't find them at Walmart. You won't find them at, I don't know, they don't have Radio Shacks anymore, but A27 or 27A is the battery. You can buy them off of Amazon and they're pretty cheap. I wrote down some of the adjustments because it's all the key combos on your controller. So like you press settings and up arrow and it gives you one thing, you press settings and a down arrow gives you another setting, and you can set the time, you can have it come on and off by itself. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff, but the manual sucks. So go to YouTube and let me see who the guy is that I'm kind of getting my directions from. He's pretty helpful. Let me head in here. I got it running right now on the computer. For your directions on how to use your remote, this is the guy. Let's see. Explorer 867. He's got about 1 million views on his thing, 2,500 likes. But he's got a video, Chinese diesel heater controller setup, and it works. He tells you everything you need to know. So after watching this video, take a bunch of notes and then write it down on a piece of paper so you can carry it with you if you're using it for camping or whatever. Mine haven't lost their memory. Once I've unplugged them, seems like they remember where they were. But I don't know, just in case. You don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere and not be able to figure out how to make it work again. Because it's all a combo. Okay, you got to hit the OK button and you got to hit the down arrow at the same time and hold them. And then you got to hit the settings button and the up arrow, and it's back and forth, and it's kind of weird. But this guy's got it figured out. Explorer 867, Chinese diesel heater controller setup. So, and don't wrap your exhaust. Please, if you're going to be inside, don't wrap your exhaust pipe with heat tape. I don't know if it's, I got a feeling it's probably toxic fumes coming off that, but it smells really bad. It doesn't smell good. Okay, that's about it for now. Actually, I've got my heater all set up and working, and it's been running a couple hours. I'm gonna let it run 2-3 hours probably, and then shut it down and say it's good to go. Good to look at the fuel. I hardly used any fuel. You can see the fuel line on the side. I didn't fill it. I only put it just a little over half, and it's still a little over half. I paired my remote to my main controller, and the main controller, I extended the leads so that I can put this main controller up in the tent, because the thermostat is in the main controller. So, I mean, you can run it manually with the remote, but I put the thermostat up in a tent. Same with the power supply, because you want that to stay warm at night. You don't want to, if it's 10 degrees outside, you don't want it to kill your power supply either. So I'm going to put them both up in a tent where it's nice and warm, because the heat's coming in. So I'll have these two going up in a tent. They don't take much room, and my tent's huge. So I figure if it's nice and warm, it'd be good for the batteries, keep them going. So that's about it. I'm gonna sign off for now. See ya. I know it's not real technical, but yeah, give you a look around.